All right, this video will cover functions with arbitrary number of inputs. All right, I'm going to start with a very early, very um, unrelated example. We are going to talk about unpacking. Remember, we tried something like this in the class A. B is equal to 1 and 5, right? And if I look at A, it is going to say 1. If I look at B, it's going to be 5. This is called unpacking. You are unpacking list of 1 and 5 to A and B. We call first one is going to be A, second one is going to be B. So let's look at something a little bit more advanced. The AB is equal to, if I try 2, 4, 10, and this one is going to give me error because it doesn't know which one to assign to A and which ones to assign to B. All right. So to solve this problem, this is what we are going to do. Imagine you want to assign first one to A and the rest to B. I'm going to use star character there, and this is not going to give you error. A is going to be 2 and B is going to be 4 and 10. All right, so we have seen this in class, we have seen this in previous handouts. How does this help us? Well, we are going to use this in defining functions that have arbitrary number of inputs. All right, for example, imagine you want to define a function that returns average of unknown number of numbers. All right, so I'm going to define def func underscore 6, and inside, because I don't know how many inputs I'm going to have, I'm going to just write args. Okay, should you use args? No, you can write anything, but this is just a tradition. All right, using args, using that term args is a tradition. All right, and let's stay with that because all programmers understand that, all programmers use that, and I'm gonna call that, I'm going to say, you know what, I don't know how many that is, but whatever the user imports, let's unpack it. All right, and I'm going to say temp, that's a term I use a lot. Temp is equal to um, sum of args divide by len of args. All right, and this one is true only if length of args is not 0, right? But that's something for another time. Let me go here and say return average of arbitrary arbitrary number of numbers. So weird duck string, but it's okay. And then return temp, right? And if I say func underscore 6, return, if I provide 3, it is going to say average is 3, of course. Func underscore 6, if I say 3, 2, it is going to return 2.5. And one last time, func underscore 6, return 4, 5, 7, 9, and still it's going to be it's going to provide the average. All right, if you don't know how many inputs you are going to have, a user is going to provide, then this is the way to go. We are going to say, you know what, I don't know how many inputs user is going to provide, so star args, and then you can rely on args inside the function, define it, work with it, and move forward. All right. There is this confusion that, well, how come we don't put all of them in a list? You can do that. All right, you can do that. But if you are going to, I want you to see the difference. Def func underscore 7. If you are going to provide a list, that is considered just a one input. All right, I'm going to call that num underscore list. Right, and you see I didn't put any star there because I know it's going to be collection, but ultimately it's just one argument. All right, and then return average or max of the list, and temp is equal to sum of num underscore list divide by len of num underscore list, right? And return temp. There we go. Func underscore 7 at we can say 2, 3, 4. Sure enough, this is going to work. All right. Now, sometimes, and this is going to get a little bit confusing, but it's okay because it's important. You need to get used to it. Sometimes you have your data in a list, but your function is defined is in a way that it accepts an arbitrary number of inputs. Okay, so one way to resolve that issue is using combining sort of these two. All right, what do I mean by all of this? Let's define one input. I'm going to call that input input underscore nums is equal to 3, 5, and 7. Right, and function is defined the way that func underscore 8. This is how your func is defined. Function is defined args, right? And for sake of time, I'm gonna skip the doc string, but make sure you write it. All right, and then temp is equal to sum of args divided by len of args. All right, and return temp. Now in this case, let's call func underscore 8. Let's call func underscore 8 at input num. What happened? It just didn't work. All right. Why? Because it says, listen, you have defined your function to accept arbitrary number of inputs, and you have to provide it with a star, right? If you want to combine these two, or if you want to pass a list inside a function that accepts an arbitrary number of inputs, you need to let me type it in the next one so you see the difference. Func underscore 8 at not arg, star input underscore nums. You need to make sure that you also unpack the list. All right, and sure enough, this is going to work. I know this part can be a little bit confusing. We are going to practice this. This is not a big deal. All right, it will get better over time.